4:08 left in the third quarter. Did not return. So we'll discuss that here on Toyota Warriors Post-Game Live with the Hall of Famer Chris Mullen. That is NBA champion Festus Ezeli. I am Bonte Hill live here at the Gay House in Thrive City. And with 3 days off, they come at the perfect time for the Golden State Warriors because all eyes will not only shift to Giannis Antetokounmpo, but Stephen Curry's right knee.
Yeah, Bonte, this was a, first game at home. The Warriors really trying to get this home stretch going. It looked like, well, you asked me about Steph Curry's knee. Steph Curry is the one guy that they're building on right now, trying to find a way to keep this thing going. Jimmy Butler's injury has really put them in flux, trying to figure out a way to keep this ship going. The trade deadline is looming, and so the Warriors right now trying to get a win, trying to get a big one against the Detroit Pistons to feel good at home. First half, you got Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham set the tone for this game. What he did tonight was he came in the game, he got in the paint, got comfortable, got Duncan Robinson going, had 4 threes in the first quarter, and then from there, everybody else got involved in the game. I mean, the Detroit Pistons scored 77 points in the first half. That's incredible.
Yeah, the Warriors down 13 at half, and you said, Bonte, to start the third, the Pistons came out and blitzed them. They got up by 20. But from that point on, the Warriors outplayed them. They just dug too big a hole early in the game. A lot of free throws for both teams, 36 free throw attempts for the Pistons, 35 for the Warriors. So it was a physical game. But I think a surprising game. When you look, pregame, we're talking about two of the better defensive teams in the league. And you look at the score, 131-24, looks like an offensive explosion. But I thought the Pistons established their style of play. The Warriors made a really good run in the late mid to third and through the fourth quarter, but I think it was just too big a hole to dig out of.
No doubt. Points in the paint, 62-40 for the Detroit Pistons. Again, the 77 points the Warriors gave up in the first half is the most points they've given up in any half this season. The 45 points they gave up in the first quarter were the most points they've given up in any quarter this season, and that was too big of a hole to climb out of. But Stephen Curry, of course, let's discuss his injury, because this was the 4th consecutive game in which he scored at least 20 points, and he was starting to get rolling here. 7 of 16 from the floor, 20 points, 4 of 10 for the three-point line, and the Pistons made him work and work. And when he got injured, it was on an and-one. He's on the bench. He got a heat pad on his knee, and he knew it right away as he went to the locker room. It did not return. But the Pistons were basically playing them straight up, Fezzi, with Asar Thompson, the Thompson twin, and they were taking their chances everywhere else. They made Steph work a lot tonight, that Detroit Pistons defense.
Yeah, I mean, the key in this game for the Detroit Pistons was to be physical. And Steph was already coming into this game struggling with some knee soreness. This is something to watch out for. No news of yet. But Steph leaving the game there in the third quarter was something to be concerned about, the fact that he didn't come back into the game. This was something that's been bothering him over the last few games. He was questionable for a couple of games on the road. Yep. One of the games he sat out. So, the physicality of the force of the game. If you watch the game, even in the first half, there's a few turnovers that Steph had. It just looked like he wasn't really quite moving well. He would hit a three, he'd hit a layup, and then he would limp back. So, Steph was fighting through some pain just to, probably got aggravated as the game went along.
Yeah, I think in between the Minnesota trip and going to Salt Lake City, Steph had some swelling. Because I remember post-game in Utah, one of the post-game questions to Steve Kerr was, Steph Curry has a lot of an ace bandage, like a sleeve on his knee, and Steve's like, yeah, he's been in the league 17 years, and he runs 5 miles a game and things like that. But could be some wear and tear. Obviously, just hope he is okay. But something's acting up a little bit, so hopefully it's just a minor thing. He can get a day off, and they don't play till Tuesday, so they got a few days off here, so hopefully he'll be able to get cleared up. But Bonte mentioned Asar Thompson, and we were down there watching together. The one thing I noticed about this Detroit Pistons team's defense, Fezzi, they're not one of those teams that automatically switch everything. Old school, fighting over screens, sometimes through screens to stay with their man. That's both on-ball screens and then Steph running off, whether it be split action, down screens, flash screens. Asar Thompson was fighting over the top as much as possible and not passing him off, which a lot of teams do, and that's where Draymond a lot of times finds the screener for a layup. He found Al Horford one time. But the physicality and fighting over screens was different than you see most teams. Now a lot of point switching and less contact. Detroit's one of those old school defensive teams. They're fighting over screens, getting physical, and not just giving up to the screens.
You know, they're fighting over screens, being physical, holding on to you, grabbing, fighting, and busting through those screens. But the reason is because they have two elite shot blockers in the back. You have Jalen Duren, you have Isaiah Stewart. Both these guys can block shots. They're guys that you want to funnel guys to because at least when you get into that paint, you're going to feel one of them and you're going to touch the floor. You saw that a few times. 71 free throws in this game tonight. It kind of got mucky up there towards the end. A shout out to our refs. But this game tonight, it really came down to the execution of the Detroit Pistons. You know, Cade Cunningham, I can't say enough about him as a leader, a guy who leads the floor, sees the floor. And then you could talk about, you know, his ability, not his lack of ability to shoot. It really doesn't matter, Bonte, because his size makes up for that deficiency, if you call it that, because he can still create his shot on a two-point shot. He is so big that he gets the post up off the dribble, and he's so crafty with the ball in his hands that he still was able to create shots for his team. He had a double-double at halftime.
His 25th double-double of the season, 29 points, 11 assists, 4 rebounds. And Mully, he missed a lot of layups. He had some threes go in and out, but you could tell how he controls the pace. He's just so methodical in his attack, gets inside the paint whenever he wants to. And if that three-point shot starts going down for him, this guy can average 30 in this league a game.
No question. He's the MVP candidate for a reason. And part of the reason, Bonte, is he sets the tone and the style of play that J.B. Bickerstaff wants them to play, both offensively and defensively. And we said pregame, you know, they're number 4 in the league in fast break points with 18 points per game. Tonight, 25-10. They're number 2 in points in the paint at 60 per game, 62-40 points in the paint. That's their game. That's what they do. Points off turnovers, 31-23. So they forced 18 turnovers. We knew ahead of time. That's we get those notes. Right. They're the number 1 team in the league at forcing turnovers. They did that tonight. So when you look at it, you know, for a while I thought it looked like they should have been up 30. But it was really, they were playing their style of basketball. The Warriors hung in there valiantly. But I don't think the Pistons ever really felt threatened because it was their style of play. I think they felt like they could get a shot anytime they wanted to. They got a little sloppy here and there. But this team's now 35-12. Yep. Far and above the best team in the Eastern Conference. And like we were talking during the game, Bonte, it looks like they could maybe use another shooter around Cade and the bigs that they have, besides Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. But they're going to be a tough team in the playoffs, man. And by the way, we mentioned this pregame, Fezzi and Bonte. This team came from way in the bottom just 2 years ago. What was their record, Bonte?
2 years ago, the Detroit Pistons were 14-68. They had a stretch of games, Fezzi,
2
where they
seasons
were
ago.
1-35 in a 36-game stretch. They were 2-38 during a 40-game stretch, and they lost 28 consecutive games. That was just 2 seasons ago.
That was with Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham was on that team. That's why I said pre. I didn't know those numbers. But you can't help but have respect and admiration for a guy like that went through that and is at the top of the Eastern Conference.
A lot of the same players on that roster. They switch head coaches. Monty Williams gets fired. J.B. Bickerstaff gets the job. They lose to the Knicks in a very exciting first-round series, and now they're here as the top dogs in the Eastern Conference. Probably looking for a shooter at the trade deadline, but they definitely have the bigs. As we take a look at the battle of the bigs tonight inside at Chase Center, Al Horford is moving around very well. 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. He was playing well. Quinn Post didn't have his shot follow, but how about those bigs for Detroit as he fell? Jalen Duren and Beef Stew, they're a problem.
Both big elite shot blockers for one, but second, they just finish it so incredibly well. Jalen Duren is finishing at a 60+% clip around the paint. Isaiah Stewart, he was running in transition, getting layups. I mean, both of them together was like a physicality combo right there. Like, you know, the whole night they're going at you in the paint. They're blocking shots. They're making everything tough around the paint. This is what the other teams look like. This is a bigger team. The Warriors going against a Warriors smaller lineup. They needed to depend on Al Horford. Al Horford really delivered tonight. He came in, especially that run towards the end of the game. Al came into the game, was helping them get stops, get rebounds. This is what you need. The Warriors are a smaller lineup. They depend so much on Quinn Post hitting those threes. Shout out to Draymond Green, his 4 threes in the first half. Those were huge. Need those in the second half. I thought they did a good job of forcing the guys, the off guys, the guys that are not Steph Curry, to shoot the ball. And the difference is they made their shots. You know, Cade Cunningham was creating shots for guys like Duncan Robinson. All these guys were hitting their shots. Beef Stew was hitting his shots, but the Warriors needed those guys to respond on their end as well.
Yeah, Al Horford gives you 23 minutes, so you see slowly but surely his minutes starting to creep up over 20. Maybe can start increasing that as the season wears on. Efficiency's there, 5 for 9. I thought he played a really good game. But Jalen Duren, this guy's a beast. I mean, he's strong as anyone in the league, lower body strength. Big time for he was 7 of 10 from the free throw line. And then Beef Stew, I was watching him. This guy runs, because a lot of times he's defensively in the paint.
Right.
He runs directly from head under basket and just goes straight down the middle and puts his head under his own basket. And Baby just camps there and tries to gobble up offensive glass. So that's a nasty combination that they got going there.
It's a really good combination the Pistons have rolling there. Jalen Duren averaging 17 to 10 in the month of January. All right, it was Draymond Green bobblehead night. The first 10,000 fans received that cool-looking bobblehead with the Michigan State uniform on. You know what Draymond Green did?
Came out on fire.
On fire. He had a stretch where he did not make a 3 in 16 attempts. He was 0 for 14 on the road trip, missed his first 2 tonight, and then he started lighting it up, making 4 threes all in the first half. Heck, all his points came in the first quarter, Fezzi fell. 15-7 for Draymond Green on his own bobblehead night, and he surpassed 8,000 points.
8,000 points. Congratulations to Draymond Green. Always good to play against your hometown Detroit team, the team that he grew up watching. Saved a lot of those points for being at home. Oh, also
800 career threes, Fezzi.
One of 3 players.
Player
Look at those,
in
look at those
history.
names.
The Splash Brothers and Draymond.
That's longevity. Obviously, you know, being here, winning 4 championships, being here. This is his 14th season. 14th season now for Draymond. You know, he has continued to find ways to improve his game, and playmaking has been his biggest calling. But I think this is one of those numbers that shows you, like, Draymond can hit those threes. And right now, with the absence of Jimmy Butler, they need those threes. The ability for him to hit that shot is going to create more space for Steph. When he hits those, the defense stays honest. Now you can't be as physical on Steph Curry. I thought when the Warriors went cold in the third quarter and those guys weren't hitting those shots for the Warriors, they now started to, and this is the Detroit Pistons, they just collapsed on every back cut. Every time the guys were trying to get to the rim, it's much easier to defend. Draymond hitting those shots, those 4 threes in the first half, that really gave the Warriors some breathing room, especially when they scored 77 points. They needed to come back, and Draymond was one of the reasons why the Warriors scored 64.
And but we mentioned about the Detroit Pistons defense fighting over screens and being very physical. You made a point as we were watching together, very similar to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're 1 and 2 in defensive rating. Their ability to recover, get beat off the dribble, chase from behind, help, and help the helper is pretty impressive. Draymond Green, let me tell you something. I watched that first quarter down on the floor there. He's a 40% three-point shooter. He could knock those shots down. Similar to the Portland game earlier.
Right.
He had a big first half. I would encourage him. Those shots are there. You watch that first quarter. That's a shooter. Repeat that. Give me more of that.
Like that.
I love that.
With the more
I don't
offensive
like that.
Draymond Green.
I love that.
You love that.